Hello.
Hey, good
How are
morning.
you?
Good. You look cute. Did you cut your hair?
Yeah, I chopped it all off.
Really?
It was so like thinning at the end,
Uh-huh.
and
No,
I'm
I know
trying to
that.
like get regrowth or whatever. So yeah.
Wait, pull it forward. Let me see. I want to see.
What do you mean pull it forward like the
Yeah, I
length?
just want to.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
and I'm trying to
super
do
cute.
those like kind of light beach curls. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure
I
it out.
like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, but
You look very cute.
thanks. I want to grow it back out though. I just need to work on my scalp, I guess, first and filling in like my balding spots or whatever that I got when I was pregnant.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why does pregnancy have to affect your hair? It just
It affects everything. I mean, I got with Haley, I got like scurvy in my toenails or whatever. I had like a pirate's disease.
really?
Yeah. I had like orange toenails.
Or
I had hormone-driven alopecia. My hair was just falling out in clumps. I thought she's gonna come out huge. Full term, 6 pounds, 2 ounces. They're like, we should test her. She's small for gestational size. And I'm like, are you kidding? She took like all of it. She took everything. But
she took
she
everything I had.
she put it all in her brain. She's incredibly smart.
There you go.
She was little. She's always probably going to be a little petite, but she's actually taller than Bella. She's just also a little. She's just petite.
Just little.
hmm
Yep.
anyways, I would gladly give my hair for her.
Right. I
Yes.
remember crying to my mom because my hair was like falling out in
hmm
clumps after giving birth, but it
Well,
comes
that's
back. It's
that's
just,
totally normal because you hold on to like hair. The problem was while I was pregnant, instead of holding on to it was falling out.
uh-huh.
It was like,
Yeah, that's no good.
yeah, no bueno.
No
But it's
bueno
okay.
es.
All's well that ends well. So yeah,
Right. Cool. Cool, cool. Well, welcome back.
to our little white picket fence.
Do. Still no theme
Mike,
song.
Mike, this is where it would be. Right here.
Yes. Anyhow,
Does he even watch these? Because I'm gonna just take these little clips and send them to him. Just be like,
you probably should.
I
You
should.
probably should.
Okay,
He's got a lot
okay.
going on right now.
Yeah, no, I know. Likely
So,
excuse. Just kidding. Um, so anyways, your topic for today.
topic for today, we're kind of late to the game on this one, but we're talking about Ballerina Farm.
Okay.
So, I have kind of a different take on it, I think, than most people
Okay.
because like I did quite a bit of research on her and I've listened to a lot of podcasts and a lot of YouTube videos and tried to,
Yeah.
and a lot of her videos. And this it's maybe like making a connection that's a little too far, but I feel kind of like I'm Timu Ballerina Farm. Like it's her story is kind of like mine in a lot of ways. And so I'm like, I don't think people have it just right, but maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Sure. No, that's okay. You're just
Maybe I'm
saying
projecting
your
a little too
perspective. That's
much.
all right. Figuring it
Yeah.
out, saying your perspective on
Yeah.
it. So, I mean,
Yep.
I definitely have seen some of the videos about her and some of her videos and have like my own different
Yeah.
opinions and things on and comparisons to just
Which is
what
why
I
we have
remember
this
being
podcast.
brought. Exactly, Emily.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So awesome. Okay. So for we'll just give a real quick rundown for those who may have lived under a rock and don't know who she is. But Hannah Nealman does a uh is it TikTok channel, YouTube channel,
TikTok, I
all the
think. That's
channel?
where I've seen her.
Yeah.
Probably other
Yeah.
places.
Yeah. Um kind of like a homesteady trad wife, um like make your food from scratch, family lives on a farm, kind of very
Idyllic, good
farmhouse,
looking.
idyllic farmhouse aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause
And
it looks nice.
she, yeah, she's this tall, thin blonde with 8 kids and just seems to be able to do it all and
Me
just
too. Minus everything you
uh,
just said.
I don't know. I can do it all. No, I can't. Um, anyways, so a little background on her. She grew up in Springville, so that's not far from where
Oh,
both Rachel and
wow.
I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was
Payson is
in a,
like right by Spring. We played them in high
yeah,
school and everything. So,
yeah,
yeah.
we did. We even had identical high schools that
We
are both
did.
being torn down this year, I think.
I didn't know that we had identical high schools.
Yeah.
Did they
Did
have
you know?
the bomb shelter?
Well, I never toured it, but like It
You
just
were told it was
they were
this.
exactly the same. No, when you'd go to games and stuff, it's just like you're walking into your own high school. It was just the layout was all the same.
Oh, interesting. I did not
Yeah.
know that. And they
Now
both
you
got torn
know.
down this year.
Yeah, I think Springville got torn down already, but they were both in the works.
You know, it was
But
pretty good
anyway,
high school. But anyways,
they lived in Springville. Her parents ran a little flower shop. They did pretty well. They had
adorbs.
adorbs. She was one of 8 kids, I think.
Hmm.
And she started dancing when she was a little kid, and she loved it. And I'm gonna get froggy hair.
Right.
Um, Anywho,
I
she
hope
started
Jesse
dancing
puts
when
a
she was a,
frog on your face right there.
please
Okay,
do.
just kidding.
I like frogs. Um, One with a little mushroom hat, please. Um, okay. So she started dancing when she was a little kid, wanted to go to Juilliard in order to pay for college. She competed in like beauty pageants and things and got lots of scholarships. And she went to Juilliard and she was, um, for anybody that knows Juilliard, it's like the Harvard of arts
Arts,
and
yeah.
music and arts. And very few people get in. So the fact that she even got in at all means that she was the top of her game. Incredible.
Yeah.
Um, So she comes home from school. She goes to a basketball game and she runs into Daniel Nealman. And he right away was just like, this is the girl for me. We should get
Mhm.
married, have lots of babies. And she's like, I don't think I'm ready to date right now because I'm in Juilliard. This is what I want to do. So she doesn't go out with him for 6 months. She's like, we're not doing that. And Daniel had some other ideas, and his dad owned some airlines, as most parents do.
Yeah.
And all
God,
the airlines
Dad.
my
Oh,
parents
your
owned,
airlines, man.
right? He found out Hannah was going to take a flight, and so he pulled a couple strings, and he's like, "I'm on that flight too." And what do you know? We're sitting right next to each other. What are the chances?
Is that
Like,
really?
yeah, uh-huh. It's
Wow.
pretty
It's a good thing she liked him because otherwise,
right. Well, there's a lot of people that are like, that's such a stalkery move. And I'm kind of like, that's pretty pimp, dude.
yeah, yeah, it's pimp as long as you like, you have to know there's
Yeah.
reciprocation. Doing it for someone
Uh-huh.
who, I know, that's
Who
what is
doesn't like
creepy.
you at all. That would,
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's
it's,
a big, grand,
it's
romantic gesture kind of thing.
right.
So it
Uh-huh.
probably wasn't that she didn't like him. She just was more like, hey, I have a different plan for my life right now.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mhm. Yeah.
So they took a 5-hour flight together. They talked the whole time. And he's like, he's so in love. And she's, she kind of likes him too. And so they start dating. And her idea was that they were going to date for a year and then get married. And he's like, nah, that's not going to work. In typical Mormon fashion, they dated for 3 weeks and then they were married 2 months later,
Hmm.
which
Because otherwise they would have
just
broken some, they would have ruined their morality and slipped up and actually been affectionate with each other. And
yeah,
yeah,
that's a no-no.
yeah.
That's a no-no. Which is, I mean, I thought we did it fast because um we started dating in April and then we were married by October. And so that was like
Yours was
really
very
fast.
fast. And then I felt
It
like
was.
mine was actually for like Mormon standards. I was like, I had kind of a long engagement for Mormon standards because I knew Anthony 9 months before we got engaged. So that was like
See?
but for his family, that was like, whoa, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And then 9 months later we were married. So it was a 9 month engagement and a nine for in Mormon culture, like I was
Anything over a year and you're pushing
even,
it,
man.
man. You're
Oh
like,
yeah. But we were also pushing it in the other direction though, because Anthony's brother and his wife dated for I think 6 years. I met it somewhere around there.
yeah,
I'm like, because, because,
yeah.
I don't know.
There are extremes both ways,
Yeah, right.
right?
Well, but I mean,
But
sometimes if
looking,
it works and you're just not ready to do that, you're kind of situating everything else in your life. I don't know.
yeah, my opinions have changed very much since I was a 20-year-old Mormon kid.
Right.
I look back on it now and I've told my kids, I'm like, we worked out and it's really great. Please don't do that. Like,
Yes. There are some
don't,
lessons that can and should be learned first so that you don't have to inflict pain
yeah.
and and just negative
Uh,
feelings.
at least once a week, me and my husband look at each other and we're like, there's no way this should have worked out. Like, I have no idea how we're doing as well as we are. Like,
You
yeah.
guys are awesome. You're awesome. Well, and
Yeah.
sometimes, or I think really most of the times, those couples who end up being like really strong and really awesome did go through some hard things and do have a lot of differences because your differences help even you out and help you to be more well-rounded. You know, when you're everything's the same, you like the same thing and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know.
Somebody
Yeah.
told me if you and your husband like all the same things and do all the same things, then one of you is obsolete.
It was
Like,
me. It feels like
what?
for a time like when we sorry, I'm really taking this up, but like when we first
Oh,
got
good.
married and stuff, those the bad mentalities of like needing to please and not wanting to be a nag and just trying to fight all the things that I had heard I was as a woman. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the naggy wife, like I was trying so hard to not be those things that I was like way too
Way too far the other
like
way.
example, and they were simple. It wasn't super bad, but it was like Anthony felt like if he was doing things outside the home, he was taking time away from like the family and me. So even or just even me. So like when he wanted to do karate, like I joined karate, but I normally wouldn't like stick with it because it was like I don't find it to be
Not your
fun.
thing.
No, it's so sweaty. Like get off of me. Don't touch me. You know what I mean? Like, ugh.
Uh-huh.
And it's
I don't
very
want your sweat
stinky.
merging with mine. Yeah.
Everything really stinks. Like it's a very uncomfortable environment for me. I like watching it. But like being the one like that, not fun. But I
Rolling
also,
around. Yeah.
so I did karate, I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I did taekwondo. I would not have done any of those things on my own. I didn't really enjoy them. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like I was the one who was normally like I don't have any hobbies. I like everything. So,
I like what you like.
uh-huh. And I didn't have any
Yeah.
hobbies. Sometimes I'd be like, what do I like? Like I like food. Let's go to I don't know. Like
Food is good.
it took me, yeah, like way too long to realize I was not even being a self. I was just trying to
Yeah.
be what I was supposed to be, but then not this bad stereotypes what I was supposed to be. I was supposed to correct it was just this weird
Mhm.
mental state that is just not healthy in someone who, is maybe too young to be doing those things because they haven't
Yeah.
grown up, or got a
Hmm.
sense of self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll bring it back around to Hannah. She did know what she wanted to do, and she
Yes,
wanted
she
to be a
did.
ballerina, and she was
Sorry,
good at
Rachel
it.
likes to talk about herself.
No, Rachel is just fine. I'm just swinging it back around.
No, I appreciate you.
Um. Anyway, so they get married after like just a couple months,
Mhm.
and they immediately moved to Brazil so that Daniel could work for his dad. He had a company down there.
Okay. I mean,
And
that's like
they,
fun. That's an adventure. I'm always here for an adventure.
right? Yeah, it doesn't say much about the Brazil years. I'm like, I kind of want to know what happened there, but
I know.
really good
Yeah.
things because they had several children. And then they moved back.
Hold on. Did she drop
Um,
out of Juilliard or did she finish?
yeah, no, she dropped it.
She dropped
Um,
out. Okay.
she did she finish? She was the first pregnant. I have it here. I don't want to get this wrong. Anyway, she was just the first pregnant undergrad at Juilliard. So I'm not sure if she like finished her
Um,
degree or not. I don't think she did.
yeah. And if she was pregnant there before they moved to Brazil, because it's not like she was
Yep.
doing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. She probably finished out the year is what it sounded like. Got pregnant. Then they moved to Brazil, had a few more kids.
Okay.
Let's go with that. Let's go with
Yeah.
that. Anyways, they moved back to Utah. One thing I forgot to say is the the podcast and the YouTube channel that I got the majority of like detailed information from was the Jordan and McKay podcast and the
Okay.
YV_edit YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give them credit. And then the New York Times article that came out was written by Megan Agnew.
Okay.
So giving credit where credit is due. So, anyways, um, so they came back and they moved to a little town called Camas, Utah.
Heard of
And
that?
yeah,
Middle of nowhere, Utah?
Middle of nowhere, Utah. It's right outside of like Park City, not too far. And the podcast I was listening to was giving them crap because they said it's right outside. It's like they're 45 minutes from Salt Lake. It's right outside of Park City. This is not rural. But I was there a month ago when my son was running a Ragnar with his friends.
Hmm.
We actually ran through Camas. It's the middle of nowhere. It's so
Well,
small.
getting
There's
up to Park City, you're through nothing until you get there.
yeah,
So Park City in
yeah, it's
itself is a thing, but it's still in the middle of nowhere too. So how
yep,
could if you're by Park City not be in the middle of nowhere? Because
right.
Park City's the only thing
Well,
there.
yeah, and there's one road that goes through town. There's houses on either side, and in 5 minutes you're outside of town. Like it's there's nothing there. But I
Probably
had no
very
idea about
nice. Yeah.
Ballerina Farm, or I would have looked for it.
Yeah.
So, but it's really, really pretty.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was a great place to run through if
Sure.
you're a runner, and I'm not. I really am not.
Yeah.
So they decide that they are gonna get back to some roots and like homestead, right?
Okay.
So um, they're not farmers. He didn't grow up a farm. Like Daniel didn't grow up a farmer. He grew up kind of a wealthy, rich kid.
Hmm.
That's wealthy and rich, both the same thing.
Hmm.
Anyway, and she certainly didn't grow up on a farm, but they kind of wanted to get back to the basics, and that I completely understand
Me too. I
because
was gonna say.
yeah, Cody and I used to drive around like super rural places and just look for the most out of the way places and like just dream about living there and you can like feel your you can feel the kids running around and learning how to work hard and like just coming out of your house, a little like cup of coffee or something, and seeing the little view of farm fields with sprinkler. Like it's very, very idyllic. Like you just there's a pull when you see stuff like that.
I'm having that
It
pull right now, really. So
yeah.
I get it.
Well,
Although I want more just in the outskirts of a town where I really have access to all the modern conveniences, but the freedom of
yeah.
having a little space and the area for my kids to kind of enjoy and
Explore.
explore, and then projects to do as a family to so that we
Yeah.
learn the value of like creating things and working as a
Creating
team
things and hard
and
work
stuff like
and
that. Yeah. Like it just because that was I come from a family of 10 kids, so similar to her upbringing. I'm
yeah.
sure that having a large family helped her with her working because you have to work
Yeah.
together when you have a big
You have
family
to
for
work
sure.
together. And if you're dreaming about anything in the future, you're like, I have to do this for myself. Like nobody's coming to do this for me. It's it's all on me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I totally get that. That type of lifestyle really, really appeals to me. And so they start their little homestead. They start with some cow. They actually started with pigs and moved on to cows. And they created a little farmhouse, which is a little bit misleading because they started their little farmhouse with like a $30,000 oven and some like some
They-
big conveniences. I like your oven.
Daddy
It was
bought their
great.
house kind of thing.
That I'm not sure on. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me.
Well, if you
This would be
work
my
for
surprise face
yeah,
if
yeah.
yeah, if you work for
I
your
mean,
dad, there's probably some perks. So, but I don't like begrudge them that either.
no. No.
Do what works for you.
Exactly.
Um, yes. So okay, maybe I will. Hannah started a blog first before she started this whole TikTok channel,
Hmm.
and her blog seemed very like normal, something you would typical Mormon mom, just writing about mommy stuff, being tired and like trying to make sure your kids are doing the right things and like all sorts of things. And the
But
pictures
she
she
had the
posted,
desire to be creative and get her voice out there.
yes, very much so.
Yeah.
So yeah, she um I guess you could say that her blog was like less aesthetically pleasing. You know what I mean? It was just kind of
More
like a
real.
journal. She
Yeah.
would just, yeah. Yep. Um, and then she wrote a blog post that said, 3 weeks ago, we flew down to a farmhouse with Daniel's boss and his family. It was an experience that we will all remember forever. I have never seen anything like it. This family lived completely off their land. They would only go into town once a month to buy some cleaning supplies, sugar, and rice. And they made their own cheese, raised their own meat, milked their own cows, and had their own garden. You get the idea. So I think that was the first time when they were like, this is the life for us, right?
Yeah.
So then they bought the property in Camas, moved out there, homeschooled their kids. They
Which that takes a
anyway,
freaking lot. Like she is amazing. Like I give
yeah,
her that. Like
yeah.
to like she's clearly working very, very hard. Because
Well, and even Daniel, like you you really can't go from being a city kid to a farmer just right off the bat. Like there's so much that goes into it
yeah,
that it just like it blows my mind that
it
almost
took a
anybody can do
lot
it.
of hard work. Yeah.
Because I was a city kid and Cody brought me out to the country and it was magical. I loved it. Like the first time I came here, I was just like, yeah, this is where I need to be. Because it was, I don't know, just that idyllic thing. But there is so much work that goes into it that most people are unwilling to do. Like the the amount of work I see farmers do, I'm just like, I don't know how anybody does that and doesn't get burnt out. Like it's incredible. And you can't take, it doesn't matter what the weather's doing, you have to do it. And it doesn't matter if you're sick, you still have to do it. And it doesn't, you have to push everything of yourself aside and just do it. And for somebody who grew up probably like Daniel did, very wealthy and kind of gets what he wants, that's pretty impressive to me that he was able to be a farmer. So
Yeah.
he's a farmer. Anyway, so this is kind of where the New York Times article comes in. Somebody came out just recently in August to do an article with Hannah and
Hmm.
go over their little farm. And she kind of got the vibe that Hannah had given up everything and that she was getting the short end of the stick here.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure I don't think she got it just right. I think she missed a lot
Oh,
because Hannah did
I'm
give up.
sure. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
Hannah did give up a lot. And she definitely, there's some things that they could do differently,
Hmm.
but I think it's only because well, I don't know. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me look here really fast and I'm going to go back just a little bit because I am getting way ahead of myself. So,
Okay.
okay, so they're homesteading, but Hannah's big thing is farm to table food. That's what she that's what her big focus has been on in pageants. Like she's continued to do a few pageants here and there.
So she probably
She
has
be
like a real big understanding on how our food sucks in this country and
Yeah.
the soil sucks in
Yep.
this country. Hannah,
Yep.
if you want to come talk to us and teach us stuff, because you clearly have some shit together, please do.
Right. She
Yeah.
knows. She
Hmm.
knows. So, when she was pregnant with her, I want to say eighth baby, she decided that she was going to compete in a pageant. And
As one does.
as one does, as one
Yeah.
does. So I think with this one, she was already Mrs. American.
Okay.
There's Mrs. America and Mrs. American, but they both get to compete in the Mrs. World pageant.
Okay.
And so she, yeah, she decided she was going to compete in the Mrs. World pageant after like 12 days after having a baby. And so she the whole pregnancy she was working to get into shape. She was lifting weights, she was exercising, she was eating right, she was doing all the things.
Hmm.
And like she she was pageant ready 12 days after having a baby, which is absolutely insane.
It
But good for
is.
her. Good for her. I don't
Yeah.
think there are spanks tight enough.
Not everybody can do that. You know?
No, nor should they, nor
Yeah.
should they. Like that has to be a very specific desire of yours
Yes,
to
that
have.
you are
And
pushing for. Yeah.
yeah, they're not Spanx tight enough for me. Um, that would not be a thing I would be doing. A swimsuit competition
Mm.
would be out. Um,
I'm almost ready, and I'm just 5 years out for my last baby. So we're pretty much the same, me and you, Hannah. We're pretty-
right, right. Same goals, same everything. I'm working on that
Same,
Mrs. American
obviously,
title.
same level of effort.
I could picture myself doing like the Mrs. American pageant and being like, I don't know why I'm here. I thought this was an Arby's. Like,
Where's the meats?
where's the meat? I don't know how I got here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, they moved in their 3,000 square foot farmhouse, which was, tiny little farmhouse with their $20,000 stove.
Did they build that house?
Um, I
You don't
don't
know?
know.
That's okay. That's
That's a
okay.
good question.
I just was thinking because I've been
I
looking
don't
at
think so.
buying
No.
land and I'm like, we'll have to put an RV on it and then build.
Yeah.
But if
Actually,
you
no,
come
I
from
know
money, you can, do other things.
they are restoring it. So they did not build it.
Okay. All
It's
right. If
I
it
do
was a
I do know
fixer
that.
upper,
But
I could do that. I've done a couple fixer uppers.
yeah. But some people are saying that they're cosplaying homesteading, you know what I mean? Like but I say who gives a crap? Like if that's the kind of lifestyle you want to lead and you want
Yeah.
the conveniences that you can afford, like there are no rules to this game,
That sounds like the perfect because that's what I want is a balance. Like it doesn't
right?
have to be all one or the other. I want to do a lot of farm to table and like learning how to like cultivate and take care of my own food for the betterment of my family and the people around me.
Yeah,
But I definitely want to take advantage of like a lot of our modern conveniences that have come through a lot of like ingenuity to make our lives better.
yeah.
Like
You know, what's hard for me though,
what?
as someone who has raised her own food and like things like that, there's a mental block between eating what's at the store and eating my own stuff.
I get it. Like
Like,
somehow theirs is better, but
yeah,
it's
like
so not.
when I have my own chickens and I collect their eggs and I crack them into cookie dough, I'm like, can't eat the cookie dough. I don't know why. It's just like a in my brain. And
Yeah.
I need to get over that because it's much
Well,
healthier and it's like I'm
like
not I'm not using the crappy stuff on it. It's just there, but for some reason my brain has this
I
little mental
get
block
that.
thinking that food in the store equals better when it's
Yeah,
actually opposite.
right. But then
Yeah.
like milk straight out of a cow, that doesn't sound like, like
Well, and
because I
typically
sorry.
you've what?
I
No,
will
go.
I like when I helped milk on the right farm. I mean, it was just
Yeah,
they were hooking up things, but like I don't know, seeing the milk coming out and the smell and like our milk goes through a process,
it's all
so
warm and
so
steamy.
yeah, but so I have that same kind of mentality. Like I almost think of it dirty because
Uh-huh.
it comes from the store, but I know that's not true. You just have to learn how to, you know,
Get past
take
it.
care of things, and I can learn.
Well, and your average person cannot go straight to drinking milk straight from the cow. You will get sick. Like your body needs to get used to it being unpasteurized and whatnot. There are things in the milk you need to get used to. So
Okay.
for anybody who's wanting to homestead, don't go straight to straight from the cow milk.
No, none of this.
Does not work.
You didn't even
Yeah.
see me.
No, I saw
I
it. I got it. The
I probably should never
straight
have done that motion though on video. That was not smart.
straight from the teat. Jesse, that's not the thumbnail. Anywho,
Oh.
that's for a different channel. Um,
Join our Patreon. Just kidding. Don't worry, we don't have one yet. Don't worry. Okay. Yet.
uh, Let us know in the comments if you want one.
Cody.
He
He
just says,
wants
"Yep,
it. He wants it. Yeah.
he wants it."
So does Anthony. Don't worry.
All right. Okay. So they come in to write this article about this Hannah Nealman who is coming to do the pageant 12 days after giving birth and makes her own sourdough and like lives on a farm and they're like we need to check this girl out. So they bring in the
Yeah.
New York Times and she follows them around and uh, she talks to both of them and she says she knocks on the door, Daniel answers and she calls him an all-American steak of a husband, square-jawed and denim clad. So he's like he's a
Paints a
beefy
picture.
lad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's holding a baby and
Cute.
anyway,
Yeah.
yes. And so she sits them down and she starts talking about why they're doing what they're doing. And they say they're doing all of this because they feel like it's what God wants them to do. He wants them to be an example and anyway, do this. And so cool. Good for them.
Yeah.
I since stepping back from the church, I value a lot more when people are like, we're doing this because it's what we want to do. It's
Yes. The God thing is
what we feel like is
literally an
the right move for
immediate
our
turn
family. But
off. Like you like you I don't know. Like
yeah,
it doesn't make me like,
I'm
oh, you do a guy like I so much
yeah.
more look
I
up to you
do,
if you
however,
would
believe
I don't know.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
do believe in inspiration though. I really think there are guiding forces in this life. So I'm not discounting what they're saying about God. It's just like
It
I have
just
like a little in there about like it looked like an adventure. Like let's do this.
yeah, or like it
So
really made sense to feed my children healthy. Like it's about what you're doing, not who you're doing it for. Like don't do
yeah,
everything for God, do it for each other, do it for the betterment of humanity. Do it, you know what I mean?
there could be
Like
lots of reasons. God can be one
yeah.
of them, but
God can be one of them. It's just yeah, and I just need to
I think it's more like the turn off is God told me to. It's like, oh,
yeah.
I don't necessarily like that. But okay. So when Hannah was asked how does she deal with like social media storms when people are critical, like, why are you doing pageants right after giving birth? That's unrealistic for a lot of women. That's hard, like not good
Oh,
for your
I'm not
body.
every
It's
woman. Let me
I
make my choices.
I don't yeah, I don't feel a lot of jealousy there. She's fine. Like
Yeah.
if she wants to do it, go for it. Like
Yeah, you don't need to defend
why
us
are we
women. Like go fucking do it, girl. Do it.
hmm We're proud of you. Go
Yes.
for it. We support you. Although it was funny, like I saw a few videos on her channel that were her right after the pageant,
Hmm.
and she's still in her gown and a crown, and she's feeding her kids chicken nuggets, and they're like tugging at her dress, and she's breastfeeding, and like
Uh-huh.
anyway. So the life of a mom never stops.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's
Hi,
there?
Cody
Hi,
came in.
Cody.
Cody.
Cody,
She says
show your
hi.
face.
She
Show
says show your face.
show me your nipple.
All right. On that note,
So no Cody
that
nipples.
was my
Heard.
no, not today. But that was my square jawed steak of a husband as
But
well.
on the Patreon,
Back to the
Cody's
Patreon.
nipple. Okay.
That's just all it is.
Gonna make this now. Okay. Anyways,
We
send
need a Patreon.
nitpics. Yeah.
The nip. Woo! Okay. So she got asked if she felt like she was a trad wife or a feminist, and she's like, I don't really like labels. I'm just kind of doing my own deal. Like if that's what people want to call me, great, but
It's just
I
fair.
I'm not bound by any of these rules. I'm just doing my own deal.
Yeah.
Um so in the article it says trad wives are seen as a counterculture against the rot of low birth rates, says Leslie Root, a behavioral scientist at the University of Colorado.
Can
This
you
isn't
repeat that?
isolated.
I'm sorry, I did not get
Okay.
that.
So they were when they were talking about trad wives and whether or not she was a trad wife, they referenced a I can't think of the word, but
Article?
oh, maybe article. There's another word I'm looking for, but my brain is not braining, so we're just gonna skip that. But anyway, it just said trad wives are seen as a counterculture against the rot of low birth rates, which I don't necessarily think is true because I would consider myself kind of a trad wife, but it has nothing to do with birth rates. Like
You're
that doesn't
choosing a life
register.
for yourself. You're not thinking about, I mean,
Yeah, I don't care what anybody else's birth rates are.
yeah.
If you want kids, have kids, and if you don't, please don't. Like that's
Please
it.
don't. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. She says this isn't isolated. It's part of a wider political anxiety that I'm worried might ultimately end in attempts to circumscribe women's lives, which there are two areas of thought here. and one is when you glamorize these trad wife lives. Like if you look on YouTube and you've got these women that are like always put together and always nice and always like making sourdough and always, if you if you romanticize it, and it becomes something that people feel like they have to do, it can be a negative.
Or they're being
But
sold something and get a desire for something that's not really
yeah,
like that. Like
yeah, not
that's
always.
idealizing it, and there is so much hard work and it is not for everybody, and there
If
needs
you're
to
watching
be
a,
value, like,
mhm.
for what that
if
person's doing in their life.
if you're watching a trad wife channel and she is making a major meal from scratch, like all the doughs and all the things, and not one kid is standing in front of her by the counter and pushing backwards, and another one's not fighting and asking her for help, and she doesn't have to stop every 20 seconds
And
to
the
like
camera
help
doesn't get
somebody,
knocked down and then you don't hear a fuck
mhm,
under your breath. Not real.
right? Then it's
Okay.
not super real. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It's relaxing to watch. It's very cool that people can do that,
Hmm.
but like just know there's realistic things. Like sometimes she's in like sweatpants throwing a meal together while kids are screaming. That's It's not always this romantical, peaceful zen. Mm. Anyway, so um I think of I think if you want the trad wife life and can provide that for yourself, go for it. What's stopping you? Go ahead. The thing that we don't want to get back to is the feeling like women have to. Their place is barefoot in the kitchen. Like I feel like they did that back in the Middle East. If you look at the pictures of the women in the 70s, they were all very like
Look,
fashionable
hmm,
and normal and
getting their
like,
own styles and aesthetics and thoughts, and
and
being
when you see
allowed
the
to be full
societies,
humans.
yes, and when you see the societies that have gone from that to the full burqas where you can't show your hands or your feet or anything about you, I, I'm not, we're not going that backwards. I'm just saying if you want to cook sourdough, go ahead.
Of course,
Like,
I think the whole thing, nobody's saying that, like, nobody at all is saying that people can't be tradwives. That's the thing.
mhm,
Nobody is saying that at all. They're just saying there
yep,
are other things people want to be too. And
mhm,
within that trad wife life, for a lot of people, it's like it is a huge imbalance of power and desires, and because when you put God and your husband above yourself, and like you stop becoming a like your own person, and part of you does die, and but if it's really what you want and your husband really values what you're doing, like everything is
that's
valued. The work that you're doing as for the home is valued as much as the work is they're doing out. And when they're back, they're helping with it. It's not your job. It's this because like a guy who's working can't have all that stuff without that woman doing it, but she makes zero money. And then they get mad when they get a divorce and she gets some of that money because you literally put her in a position where you don't value what she does. You have all the value because you make the money. You're a man, like that is where it needs to be. Like, do whatever you want to do, but do it with some sort of purpose and and equalness, like
yeah.
share the
See,
load instead of give roles, ascribe, and control.
mhm. I have two different perspectives
Hmm.
because I started out Mormon, very traditionally Mormon, and then
Very Mormon.
very like when you look at a picture of a Mormon girl,
It's
there's
just
me.
Emily.
It's just me. It's just me because I was very by the rules, very by the book, very everything, and I was really glad that somebody gave me these rules so I didn't have to figure this crap out on my own. That was me. And so I get married, and it's very much like, okay, this is already set out for me. I've been taught this my whole life. My husband works, I take care of the home. And it was like you don't even think about it really. This is just how it's done. This is just what we do.
Yeah, it's a
And
role
and it
that you were
was and it
fulfilling.
was great. Yeah, it was great. We had Cody was always very involved with the kids. He loved being a dad. And I would say it was very, very idyllically Mormon. for the most part. We had our
There's
stuff too,
can
but
be some
like
great things about that. Yeah.
yes.
Take the
And
good, leave the
then,
bad.
yep. And then when we left the church, it changed both of our mindsets so much that it changed the way we interacted with each other and the way we interacted with our kids and just the way we interacted with people all around us. And our relationship almost immediately became 100 times better. Like we valued each other for what we were doing. And like when we put effort forth, it wasn't just expected because, well, that's just you. That's what you do. Like this is your role. It was all of a sudden we just became infinitely more grateful for each other and the effort we put in and the work that we were doing. And like it just became a lot more fun. Like, I don't know, it just
I see. I get it. I feel
do
it.
you, I mean, does
Yeah.
that make sense?
To me,
Yeah,
total sense. Yeah, yeah.
and I think that's what this ballerina farm is missing is they're very focused on their roles. Like when they were asked, is this what you always wanted to do, right? Is this is this life always what you wanted to have? Hannah's like, no, I wanted to be a ballerina. I was a really good ballerina,
Mhm.
but then we moved into this arena and this is what we chose. And Daniel is like, yeah, this is always what I wanted. This sounded great. And he's like, but I thought Hannah would be like at home with the kids a lot more than she is. Like I just pictured that. But she said she watched her parents work together and that's what she wanted to. So if we're working together. And um that was also very telling to me too, because if Daniel was the asshole, like a lot of these people are trying to paint him as,
Mhm.
if she'd have said, I don't think I'm going to be home with the kids all the time. If we're going to work together. He would have been like, no, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
put
yeah,
my foot
yeah.
down. That's a no.
Like
Like,
she's clearly advocating for herself enough to be still
yeah.
doing some
And
of what she wants.
yeah. And he's listening. It's
Yeah,
just, he may have a lot of that Mormon in him where he's like, these are our roles. Of course, this is what we do. Like, there's
yeah.
not a real appreciation there. It's just an expectation. Expectations are a bitch in marriage. Just FYI.
Expectations for in life are a bitch because I'm constantly having to kind of reteach that to myself and my kids, and I'm just
Yeah.
I'm like so many people get disappointed by the expectation of people every single day expecting, I don't know, just anything.
Mhm.
And they get upset or disappointed because they expected things to go one way and it didn't. And it was never like for in anybody else's reality, it was never going to go that way. It was their own
Yeah.
expectation. So all of the anger and anxiety, it's their
Hmm.
so yeah, I like you can have you expect what is it? Expect n what's there's a word a saying. Do you know what I'm talking about? Expect everything.
Be
Ah,
disappointed.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Jesse, if you know
Something.
what I was trying to say there. Um,
That would be
expect
great.
everything except nothing. No, none of this makes sense anymore. Moving on.
But no, you get it. Yeah. If you expect things, prepare to be disappointed because nobody can meet up to all of these things. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that she's standing up for herself a little bit. I'm glad that she felt like the other thing is they've got 8 kids. Like, if he was the controlling asshole that he was, I don't think he'd like if she was in pageants and things because that takes you away from the family. That takes you away from, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's little things here that show me that
And she's
he cares
wearing,
about what she does.
yeah, she's wearing things that in the Mormon culture, outside of pageants and things like that, you're like not even allowed to wear.
Right.
And that
Well,
would,
she
for some
was
people, make them very jealous or, and he seems to be okay with
okay with
that.
that.
So, yeah.
Well, she was the only contestant to wear a one-piece bathing suit, so she's still concerned about modesty standards. But anyway,
But her dress, would she wear that to church on Sunday?
good question. I'll have to go look. I'm pretty sure she did wear sleeveless things, but that's okay.
No, it's totally fine for us. It's just funny because
Yeah,
it's against
church
the
standards.
church standards, like for
See, and
something that you really believe in.
I remember competing in the Miss Payson pageant, which was wonderful. And for those wondering, no, I lost big time. But
You did awesome.
no, I was very concerned about having sleeves on my dress and making sure it was modest and like even my bathing suit, I would have done that totally different now. Um, but that's not something that keeps me up at night. I don't care. Okay, so people are saying that this trad wife fad is coming in opposition to the girl boss movement. You know, you got people that are pushing way more into the like career and boss babe movement. And so they're pulling too far the other, like not too far, but pulling the other direction. I'm not really sure that's, I
I
think you
think
can be
it's
both,
okay for us to have all of those, you know? Like they don't have to
right?
be the antithesis of each
We
other.
don't have to
They're
all do the
just
same thing. What?
they're just doing different things. They're not even like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's more the problem I have with like the push for the trad wife comes not from the girls, comes from the men who would push for it. Because their motivation for it is I feel like different or skewed. I feel like
Well,
the generation of men right now that like right now you have the most single men, you know, like girls just aren't they're just their expectations are higher. I feel really bad for this generation of men though because they were raised for a world that doesn't exist anymore. And they were told that they would have something that doesn't exist anymore. And
yeah.
they haven't been taught to fit the bill of what somebody expects now. And I know you can't have expectations, but you also, for your own life, you can, because that you can have expectations for yourself. You're the only one, so you can expect that you're going to make it to a certain place or you're going to do a certain thing. And if that guy doesn't, you know, allow your expectations, you know, you to do what you want to do with your life, then maybe you don't want that so much anymore. But I feel bad because they were like all they had to do was work, get a good job and work, and then you're going to get a wife and they're going to take care of all these things. But now the girls are like, no, like we want actual
That's
partners.
not,
We want men who actually
mhm.
like us. Like I was
Yeah.
just watching a thing where it was like this guy was talking, maybe I'll share it. It was like just talking about how he didn't think he could be like friends with girls and it was just kind of showing how like you literally can't like men are mentally attracted to other men and physically attracted to women a lot of times because they are like it's hard to be friends with a girl because like I don't want to talk about what they want to talk about. I want, you know what I mean? They just think that girls are this one thing, and for them they're just a sexual object. So it's hard to like not not perceive it. And so I don't know. I think there's just this mentality that
Block.
this block that and this so they feel a certain way about women, but they also have like an expectation that women should be that, you know, and now they're the ones like the incels, whatever, when I see men pushing for women to change what they're doing and conform to what works for them, that's the
Mhm.
problem. If the woman wants to do it, by all fucking means. And if a guy wants to do it with a girl who asks, by all fucking means. It's just when there's an imbalance of power and whoever is getting to like have say over the life that's being lived. That is my really my only problem.
Well, coming from somebody that would be described as a trad wife, like I don't call myself a trad wife. I don't like labels. I think that's stupid. But for somebody that would be described as one, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I cook meals at home. I try to take care of my kids. You know what I mean? I help with the homework. I clean the house. I do all those things. Um, I would never want to be with someone who laid down those expectations, like I don't know, all these guys that you hear. I was going to name names, but just all the guys you hear on TikTok that are like, women should be doing this. Women should be, they should be in the home. They should da 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 da. That's great, and it's okay for them to have those thoughts and expectations and wants.
For their own
But
life.
for
Yeah.
me personally, like it works for me and Cody because me and Cody are best friends. We talk about all sorts of stuff. We laugh together. We have fun. If I, the other day, I got like a stomach flu or something and I have a massive headache and I had to go lay down. And Cody just seamlessly takes care of everything. He's like, I've got the kids, go lay down. Like, no problem. There is not this, but that's your job. There is never a, but that's your job. And we just, we appreciate each other. And I don't know. I grew up with some extended family members that were very much like, this is how, this is a woman's place. This is where this is how you act. The one I told you before, where he's like, watch
Yeah,
how
yeah,
well I have
yeah.
her trained, and she brings him food. And like, I would never want that ever. If
No.
you want a kick-ass trad wife Go be best friends with her, talk to her, have fun with her.
Yeah, learn
And
how to like a girl
I,
outside of what she is for you sexually.
right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's there, that life that you want is out there, but you have to actually like the person you're with and have fun with them and find
And there
somebody you can
is
talk.
something to be said for going through hard times
Oh yeah.
and allowing people to change and grow up and make mistakes and change and grow
Yeah.
up and go on, you know.
Yeah.
That's because we go through the similar things. I
All
definitely
sorts of
wouldn't consider myself a trad wife. I mean, I I don't like labels mostly just because they always made me feel like I was a poser because I literally like all styles of clothing. I like all music. Like
right.
I'm like I want to go to every concert, but I'm not like and I like dressing up and getting into characters. So like
Yeah.
I could be goth, I could be this, but I don't feel like a poser. Like I am genuinely enjoying that. So I don't like
Hmm.
the labels for that, but I also just don't fit any category of anything because um I I've always worked, but it always took the majority of the homework. And
Yeah.
in part it's because that I am just impatient. And me and Anthony, we do like work different. We still work, we've worked well, we've renovated houses and stuff like that. And but
Yeah.
I definitely work at a different rate and pace. And so, and that's okay too. You just have to kind of accept each other where each other are. Like my
Yeah.
expectations can only be for what I'm going to achieve, not for what he's going to achieve outside of us,
Yeah.
you know, especially when it's those above and beyond type things. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
anyways, I don't know.
I agree. And for those who are trying to shove all people into one box, like you should all be this way, that's just so dumb. We've gone beyond that, haven't we? Like
A
we
lot
know
of
we've
us
all got
have,
different
but some people it
personalities and
scares them and they're like, wait a minute, we're ruining things because everybody's not living the way I envisioned they would be living. And it's like, hey, why don't you live that way and let everybody else do their thing? You can have a
mhm.
vision for yourself.
Show by example how kick-ass your life is, and
Exactly.
other people will want that
Yeah.
too. Like,
Yeah. If we weren't seeing so many examples of so many people in negative situations who, you know, doing that, so
mhm.
many murder
Yeah,
suicides, things like that, where it's just like people are really struggling in these environments. They're not thriving. Show me
yeah,
thriving and not thriving in like a picturesque, perfect way, but allow them to
aesthetically
see,
pleasing.
yeah,
But
not
yeah,
just aesthetically pleasing, but in allowing the like negatives to be seen because, and but also allowing forgiveness and growth and you know what I mean?
yep. It needs all of that.
Hmm.
It needs all of that. All right. Let's see what I've got left here. Okay, so going back to kind of a Mormon dad versus like uh it's hard sometimes because when you're so focused on like your roles, you do miss a lot of the person's identity, the person themselves. So like when they talk about childbirth, okay, Hannah had most of her kids at home, completely like by candlelight and with no pain management, right? And then
She's
she
built
went to the
different,
hospital.
okay? You're built different,
She's
Hannah. You're built.
right. But for one of the last kids, she had to go to the hospital. Like they were having some complications. She had to go to the hospital. Daniel didn't make it. He wasn't there. And so when they asked her if she wanted an epidural, she's like, yeah, I kind of do. And so they gave her an epidural and she's like, I really liked it. Like it was
Yeah,
great.
like
I had no
goodness.
idea it could be like that.
Yeah.
And people are saying like, oh, it was Daniel that was telling her, you can't have an epidural. You can't, we need to do this at home. We need to do it like this. Um, I don't think that's necessarily true. And let me tell you why. I had 5 kids and I never had an epidural. And that's like as a choice. I certainly do not begrudge any other woman an epidural. I think if I had another kid, I'd probably get one. But my I have a couple of reasons why I did it. One is they're super duper expensive and I didn't want to pay for it. And two, um, my Cody is such like a strong badass, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I am a tiny little twig of a human being. And like, especially in the beginning, I was even more of a tiny little twig of a human being. And I'm like, this is my way to show that I can be badass. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, and
It was a personal
so
thing for you.
it was a personal thing.
Yeah.
And huge disclaimer here, the only reason I could do that is because all of my labors were super short. Like, yeah. Anyway, that was a personal little thing that I did for myself to be like, to add badass points to myself. Like, so she may have done something similar. You know what I mean? To like, I want to see what my body can do. I want to see,
Yeah.
I want to try this unmedicated. And I really liked that my babies, the doctors would always say like, man, this kid is really awake because they don't have the epidural effects.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are good things. However, if I had another baby, I probably would have one because that shit freaking hurts.
Yeah. And I
Like
mean, if you can do
it
the at
hurts.
home thing, like if at home was my only option, me and Bella were dead.
Yeah,
She came compound breech. So I didn't know exactly
yeah,
what I wanted because I honestly hadn't dreamed of being a mom forever. I'd never really thought. I think I kept pushing it back in my head. Like I didn't want to think about what it was going to be like because I just knew it was painful. So I was just waiting for it to
yeah.
happen, but I didn't want to give it too much of my thought or attention. So it was like, I'm going to deliver. I might do it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I figured I'd just be reactionary in the moment, for
Yeah,
what I felt like I needed to do to get through it.
which
But
is what you do.
but
Like,
what ended up happening was an emergency C-section. And I'm just like, I if I would have tried to deliver, like it just wasn't even possible, I think. And it all
yeah,
happens like so fast. Anyways, just and
that
compound
would
breech, just
be,
so you know, is their butt and their feet are wedged. She was in like cannonball and undeliverable. And like
yeah, there's
wedged,
no way.
stuck in
There's
the
no way.
canal. I had been telling them for the longest time, her head is always right here, always right here. Like, and she's pushing to my rib. And first
Yeah.
time mom thing, they're just like, oh, she'll turn, she'll turn.
Why
And
is
I'm like,
that totally
no,
Bella's personality?
always, always what?
Cannonball, like,
Yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
she goes in hard. She comes in hard. Yeah, and that day, like my water broke at 10:30. She was in my arms at 12:01. But actually Anthony has pictures that say 11:50 something. So we're pretty sure they gave us
Ooh,
12:01 for insurance purposes to give me another day because it was a pretty fast everything. Like
yeah.
when I got there and they again weren't listening to me, like I was like my water broke. They're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "My water fully broke in the toilet and this is my like third pair of pants." And and
Like, trust me.
I'm in so much pain and they're just like, first time mom, like you always
Uh,
it feels like so much at the first time, blah blah blah. And but what's funny is when my doctor, Dr. Teeter, got in there, he came in, he looks at me, and he does the thing for a second. He goes, "Is anybody in the OR?" And they said, "They're going in right now." And he said, "No, they're not. Get them out. We need to go." That was how fast it was. It was just so
like, let's
freaky.
go.
It was like everything has to happen right now. So, and then they didn't give me any of the pre-meds and stuff. So I spent the next 24 hours like vomiting. It was
Oh
it
gosh.
was fine, you know what I mean? I lived
Survived it.
without all that modern medicine. Like me and Bella, like we were in a position where I could not have
Yeah.
got her out of me, and I would have ended up
But
probably dying in the process. So
the candlelight Zen birth
sounds
was not
great,
that.
but I if I would have tried that, it could have ended up
Both
like
be
my
dead.
mom, because my mom had 10 kids and she started having them all at home. And when she went to the hospital, it was because it was the fifth kid and he was like almost 11 pounds, I believe, and breech. And she was having him at home with a
On
midwife.
first.
Yeah. They ran into complications. They called the ambulance. The ambulance got a fucking flat tire on the way to the hospital. When they got to the hospital, nobody wanted to touch my mom because the midwife had been involved. She delivered him breech. It broke her tailbone. She's walked from
Gosh,
it,
dang.
she's had a thing ever since, and then she had five more kids. So I know it can be done. I just know that also in my situation, like I was not
There's
someone
nothing
who
wrong with being in the
I'm
hospital.
not someone who lived through childbirth without modern medicine, like you were meant
Hmm.
to
Nor
like
should you
carry
have.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But for me, I had to have assistance in order to have
Yep.
my babies.
Right. So, yeah, room for both. I think I'd be too
Right?
scared to have them at home just because you just never know. Um, but people are saying that because she was like, because Daniel wasn't there, I had an epidural and it was great that she felt a
Yeah.
little oppressed, but
And honestly, maybe it was a little easier for her to make that decision without him there. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I think those are fairs because I know I have definitely like it's good to take their stuff into account, but sometimes I let it really rule me. So I'd be
yeah,
like, I'm making this decision, but I was making that decision to keep peace. I was making that decision.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I think
mhm,
it's fair to say that, whether or not she even acknowledges it yet, that she wouldn't have made that decision if he was there, which might mean, yeah, you felt a little freedom to make that decision for yourself. And
yeah.
and it's okay to
But that,
recognize that, and that's part of growing up and learning how to,
yeah,
you know, own your own voice and think your own thoughts
yeah,
and not let somebody else's expectations of you decide what
yep,
you are and how you're going to do things.
yeah. Well, and when the reporter asked Daniel and Hannah if they have a 15-seater minibus, right?
Nice. Nice. I want
And they
one.
have and they have 8 kids. And so she's like, "Are you guys planning to fill the rest of the seats? Like, are you having more kids?"
Mhm.
And Daniel's like, "Oh, heck yeah. Well, we'll have more kids." And Hannah's like, "We're kind of old and tired. Like, we'll talk about it, right?" And
Yes.
that that definitely reminded me of me and Cody though, because Cody would have had 10 kids. He loves kids. He's a fantastic dad. He's
Of
amazing.
course.
And like he could have handled 10 kids. And after the fifth one, I'm like, I'm done. Like
Yes.
I've had 5 kids. I'm tired. I can feel myself like not having the emotional energy to give each kid what they need. And like
As one of 10
I
kids, I'm glad I'm here, but I don't
yeah,
have a relationship with my parents like I would like to have. They kept me alive, but you cannot give that many kids like
one-on-one
the
emotional
time and
attention.
attention and things like,
Yeah.
like so it's a I think it's a good thing to
Evaluate where you
know
are
what
and
you have to give to them and that they are deserving of of all that you have to give them because you're choosing to bring them into this world. They're not making this choice. You are. So don't have them just because it's fun. Don't have them
yeah,
for the aesthetic of a big family. Don't have them to run your farm. Have them because you can give them the life, the
life they
attention, the education. You know what I mean? Like you have all that to give.
yeah,
And remember that you still need your time for yourself too. Like
yeah.
having just a bunch of kids is not something to be glorified because like you're godly or
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like none of those things. It's
mhm.
there just needs to be more thought in things and not for aesthetic or religious purposes or because if those children aren't born to your family, they might be born to an
Well,
unbelieving family.
that is such a hard thing. They the thought that we were taught in growing up that, you should always pray to see if there's more kids up there for you. I could always convince myself there was more kids up there for me. Like always. I would like work myself into a puddle of a human being if I thought I was saving kids. Like
Yes, and that
that's just
that
what I would
makes
do.
you do
That
things like it's almost like a manipulation. You know what I
it
mean?
is a
Because
manipulation.
I look at our world and I look at like the fights over free lunches and all this shit and the kids in foster care and I'm just like there are so many kids right here right now that aren't being cared for. So
Hmm.
I have those same pools to like take care of kids and take care of children. But I'm thinking about it a little more
The
with
ones
my
that are already here.
mind and be like, they're here and they already need us,
Yeah.
So if you have that
Well,
desire, I don't know.
yeah.
But if you can only love it if it comes out of you, I don't know. I don't know. To each their own.
Well, to each their own. But the one thing I am extremely grateful for is Cody does have the emotional energy to have a million kids. He does have the ability and the energy just to like be a dad and take
It'd be
care of kids.
great when if he could
And
hold them then.
he does.
If he no, I mean carry them.
Oh, if
It'd
he
be
could
great
like
if he
give
could.
birth to them.
Yeah,
Well, even
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, even so, I don't have that for like with 5 kids. I felt very much like this is my limit. I'm now
Yeah.
done. Like I am maybe even over the limit just a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Good for
done.
you.
And Cody wasn't like, you have to have more kids. Like
No, yeah, of course.
this is I'm super grateful for that because there are guys that are like, no, we have to fill up the seats in the van. Like we were sent here to multiply and replenish the earth. Let's keep replenishing because
Even if the
that
earth
would have
isn't even a
been
place worth living right now, let's just make a bunch of people instead of taking care of
right.
our earth.
Well, yeah, if you want kids, I have nothing against people having kids, but
Of
if you
course.
feel like you're done, that's
But
okay.
actually
And
think about the kid, not just yourself. What are you
yeah,
offering them? And if it's
yeah,
for you to enjoy them, don't have fucking kids. Because
get a
when it
dog.
gets hard, you're not going to enjoy them and you're going to ruin them.
Yeah. Well, and and it's okay to have different ideas of what life's gonna look like, you know.
True.
Cody having an idea of 10 kids and me being like, five's my limit. We work together and like, yeah, that's we're okay with what we have. And like Cody cared enough about me to value my opinion on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I hope that's what happens with these guys is Daniel communicates with Hannah and it's just like, okay, should we have more kids? Where are you at? How are you feeling with the ones we got? Like, um, are we parentifying the older kids that we already have? Like, how
Hmm.
are, let's evaluate how we're doing. Um, anyway, so basically the rest of the article was about how like Daniel took the reporter around the farm and showed her all around the farm, even though she was there for Hannah. And she's
Yeah.
like, we got to get back to Hannah. And he's like, let me show you the farm. And that's a very farmer thing to do. Just FYI, he's just like very proud of his ditches and his, systems and like, let me show you what we got here.
Yeah.
Um, that doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't value Hannah. It's just like he had a little moment of, look at what we built. This is pretty freaking cool. Like this is Hannah
Yeah.
too. This is all of us.
Yeah.
Um, those first years of having kids before they're like 10. If you're having lots of kids when the oldest is younger than 10 and you just have all these babies, it's a madhouse and it is only survival. Like it is exhausting beyond belief. Like
Yeah.
someone always needs you, including in the middle of the night. Like you're just always needed and you don't sleep very deeply because you're always listening for the kid, Mom, I
Mhm.
threw up or I peed the bed or whatever. Like
Yes. You're in this
it's
half conscious, it's like this time of life that's like a blur almost because you're half conscious all the time, being like tending to everybody
yeah,
else's needs and wants.
yeah. And you can't always like focus on being a ballerina or like yourself or going to the gym or having coffee with friends. Like it's hit and miss on everything. Like there are so many times when you like schedule something and be like, hey, we should hang out. And then like 6 months go by and we don't hang out. Like it just, it's life. So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily that someone's being oppressed. It's that this is a freaking madhouse.
Yeah.
The one thing that did get me though is when Daniel said, he says, yeah, sometimes she gets so exhausted with being a mom that she goes to bed and she doesn't get out of bed for a week. And I'm like,
That's
okay,
called depression.
that sounds like depression, right?
Yeah.
A day, maybe two if you're really exhausted and like feeling kind of sick. Yeah, but if you need to stay in bed for a whole week, that's more depression, I think. You might want to get that checked out or talk a little more because that's that's pretty
You're
rough.
doing something against your body's will. You're
Hmm.
pushing it more than you can, and you're not
If you had,
listening
yeah,
probably even to your own brain because your brain probably needs a break too, because you're
yeah,
taking on just too much.
too much. Yeah. If you have the flu or something, that's different. But like if that's just exhaustion and you're in bed for a week, that needs to be looked into a little more. That's
Yeah.
my disclaimer. So maybe there is a little depression going on there. And I think okay, the big controversy came when it was her birthday. Do you remember this
Oh, and he
one
gave
at
her the
all?
egg
The egg apron.
apron.
Yeah, well, he gives her the Amazon box. He doesn't even wrap it or anything. He's like, "Here's your birthday present." She's like, "I hope it's tickets to Greece." And she opens it and she's like, "Oh, my egg apron. Yay." And there's clearly kind of a look on her face. And if you deep dive a little bit, on their farm, they have many, many chickens. And if they're going out and collecting these eggs, they're getting like 50 a day. They get like buckets full of eggs. A 12 egg apron is going to do no good. Like if he got one for every one of the kids, that'd be cool. Like everybody holds some eggs, you know what I mean? But like it's not really useful. And like it's a fun gift, but everyone's like, she should have had tickets to Greece. Your dad owns a freaking airline, take her to Greece. And I'm not I'm not mocking his gift at all. They can do their own gifts. But I
Yeah.
think they hit the nail on the head when it's like, uh, I love when me and Cody can get away and be just me and Cody for like once or twice a year.
Hmm.
Even if it's just a weekend. If his dad owns an airline, freaking get on a plane like you did when you were dating, when you got your seats magically, take her to New York, watch a ballet, and come back the next day. Like, go take her to the city that she loves. She talks about going to New York and like loving the feel of New York. Go take her to New York, get her a fancy dinner, go watch a ballet, and then come home. Like,
Actually think
go
about her. Actually think
take her
about
to
her
Greece.
desires. Actually think about her
Yeah.
wants.
If you, for anybody, if you want to stay married, like if after the kids are gone, you want to be married to your best friend and not just be roommates, like remember that you guys are still boyfriend and girlfriend, like
Keep playing.
as you keep playing. And yeah, go have fun, go explore and go,
Ugh, check
even
out
if
my
he doesn't.
ankle. This is because me and Anthony are on a co-ed kickball team, and I went too hard
Oh,
on the
poor
last
ankle.
game. They were throwing the ball to first, and I
Uh-huh.
really didn't want to get out, so I made like a lunge leap to, and as my foot hit the base, and I still got out, I was like, "Fuck, you're in your 40s," and went down. And it's okay though. I can step on it and everything now. It's only been a few days. It's pretty swollen and
Good.
bruised, but all's well that
I'm glad
ends
you're
well.
glad you're
But
feeling better.
play
And I can totally see you
together.
doing that.
Yes,
But
it's
yeah,
really.
play together, have fun. And like even if he doesn't like New York, he knows she does. You can
How many
survive a night at
times
the
have
ballet.
you done
Like,
something for Cody that you would never have done on your own? I bet you,
and
and
you
you
know what? I
probably
usually
enjoyed
end
it,
up liking
right?
it. Yes.
Exactly. See, and a lot of times when I'm doing things for Anthony, I enjoy it. You know what I mean? But it's sticking with it for the long term that I don't, because I'm like, I wouldn't choose that for my
Well,
all
you
the
don't
time. It's
necessarily have to have.
uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah. But, like, just,
Yeah. Go play. And
yeah.
like you don't not necessarily go on your Friday night date nights. We have that too, but like do something extra every now and then. When we go
Yeah.
on any sort of vacation, even if it's just like overnight somewhere, and I
Hmm.
know, okay, financially not everybody is able to do that, so whatever. But like whenever we take a little vacation, it does wonders for us. Like
Hmm. You feel
we just
rejuvenated. You just got that
rejuvenate. We
time.
remember we
Yeah.
like each other. We always know we like each other, but we really like each other. Like
Uh-huh.
anyway, go take her to the city. Make her feel like you still remember who she is and was, you know? I think if you would do
Because you
that,
should, because eventually the kids are going to be grown, and then that's who you have. And if you've reduced her down to the role that she plays and forgot to like look at who she is, this person who you chose, she's not going to
mhm.
be there anymore, and she's not going to want to be with you.
Well, and if you had the choice between going to New York overnight and watching a ballet and having a meal, or her being in bed for a week, like take your pick. Because
Yeah, true.
yeah. So anyway, I think the there's a block there for him. I think he might be, I'm putting words in his mouth. I've never heard anything like this from him at all. But I think he might be worried like if he shows her the life that she could have had, that she'll maybe like want that again. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but here's the
Like we
thing,
have
you
to keep
can't
her
be
away from
afraid
it.
of that stuff, because if that's what she
No.
wants, there's a way for everybody to kind of like, you can't have what you want in the sense that she does what you want, but you can still have what
Mhm.
you want. You can work your part. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
there's a way to step back and have less responsibility, even on a farm. Be like, okay, maybe we don't
Yeah.
have so many, there's
Yeah.
balance, but everybody's opinions and desires should be valued.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. So my overall evaluation of that is give her a little space on the farm that's a ballet studio, because clearly you can do that if you're spending $30,000 on a stove, you can convert the
Yeah.
garage into a ballet studio. Like,
Yeah.
and then
She could
and
start
then
teaching
take her
ballet.
on little trips. Yeah, take her on little trips.
Yeah.
Even if she's just teaching her own kids, at least she's got a little studio where she can, or like give her a studio and then make sure that like every other day you give her an hour where you've got all the kids, you've got everything, you're gonna make them dinner or whatever, and she can just go dance. Like show her you remember who she is and you value that. It's not just cool that you got a ballerina. It's like she enjoyed that. That's what made her feel like a whole person. Let's allow her to feel like a whole person.
Yeah.
So that was the only criticism I had.
What was
I
his
think
name
they're
again?
doing pretty good. Daniel.
Daniel, if you want to come on too and teach us some things, maybe,
Yeah, I'm sure
what we're
he
not getting
would.
right, come talk to us.
Yes, I would love to talk to both of them because I really do feel like I said, like Timu Ballerina Farm. Like I have just enough of it to know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, I I think they've got a lot of potential. I will keep watching them.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't have it wrong and he's not just some asshole, but like I really don't think he is.
I don't think he is. But I think a lot of guys have, and girls have like unlearning of certain things that we've been
Certain
taught
expectations,
in
yep.
certain expectations. So we're all kind of constantly learning and being like, you know what? I don't think that served us as a people.
Yeah.
What did? What
Well,
could, you know?
usually when you try to fit into a box, there are pieces of you that don't fit into the box that you got to chop off, right? Or you got
Yeah.
to make fit. But when you're not trying to fit into a box, you're like, you can just enjoy yourselves for who you are. And like,
Yeah.
it feels a little freer, a little nicer. And
And when
I
your
don't know if that makes
significant
sense at
other
all.
isn't fitting into the box that you want, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
You liked them all at first, and everything that they are made up the person that you like. You want to get rid of
Hmm.
these other things, but that really is who they are. So you like it, it's just not for you. And everything doesn't have
Yeah.
to be about you.
Yep.
Allow them
And
the
when you're,
space outside of your box to exist for themselves.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It would probably be best if when you're, I don't know. Okay. I'm just thinking this and maybe the words aren't going to work, but let's give it a try. I
Word it.
think when you grow up in the church, especially Mormon, where you really are given like a template of how you're supposed to be. This is what your
Yeah.
family's going to look like. That when you're dating, you're like, how well is this person going to fit into the box I've created? Like,
Hmm.
and when you're like, ooh, this person's going to fit right in that box, it's like, that's, you're doing yourself a disservice, really. Like, there should be no box. You're not trying to put anybody into a box. You're just like, can I create a cool life with this person?
Yeah.
Like, anyway. Anyway, no more boxes. No more boxes because everybody tries to get out of the box. You know what this made me think of? And this is
What?
going to be like a parting note, but like kind of dumb at the same time.
Cool.
I was reading a book about somebody that grew up in southern Utah in the polygamous communities, right? And
Okay.
they're very, very much in the box. All the women have to wear the same style of dress, right? They all
Hmm.
have to do their hair in the same swooshy, loose braidy way. Like they're all trying to be essentially the same person, right?
Yeah.
And even then, the girl said when she would go to school, the way they had their independence was in their shoes. Nobody paid attention to their shoes. So it was always like who had the nicest shoes, who had they still tried to stand out in certain ways because I think we all have a desire to be ourselves and to like stand out and
Yeah.
to
Of
be
course.
different. And anyway, instead of hindering that and trying to shove everybody into a box, just love each other for who they are. Because as Cody always says, people matter most. So,
This is true. Did I send you? Because that just made me think of this TikTok here. Let's see real quick.
or-
I'm sure I sent it to you.
okay. Sorry, I'm making us go way over, but
Oh, I don't care.
since it's our podcast and we really have no
I know.
parameters,
Over
enjoy.
what? Do you have somewhere to be?
No, I really don't.
Okay. Okay. So it's the first one I sent you yesterday called Tone It Down. Go watch that real quick.
I still have that voice in me that says, hello, you're a little bit too zany. Your necklace, You know, you got to tone it down. To be taken seriously, you have to speak like a man. But then you realize there's nothing serious about people who give keynote presentations and then cry themselves to sleep. There's nothing serious about people who accrue all the business titles and die alone. I want a good life, which means an honest and vulnerable life. And so if that's my choice, if I want to die with dignity and the fullest and freest version of myself, I got to wear the goddamn necklace. If we learn how to mute ourselves in small ways, then we learn how to mute ourselves in big ways. So we have to practice. What style is practice. Practice for learning how to say, I'm going to be me, regardless what you think about it.
I just love that. So yeah, that's my final thought.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's a good thought.
well, thanks for all the information.
Yes.
And
Ballerina Farm.
perspectives, because, it's easy to judge and automatically say like, oh yeah, that's
Jump
wrong,
on
that's
the-
wrong, or whatever. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's better to
Yep.
try to actually learn everybody's real story.
Yeah. We don't always, unless we can experience things for ourselves, we can't always know. And
Exactly.
maybe we have it wrong. But
Yeah.
anyway, there you go. Ballerina
Right.
Farm. Go check
Yes.
out her channel.
All right, I will. All right, well, I love you. I'll talk
Awesome.
to you later.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Subscribe up there.
Subscribe.
There's a subscribe up there.
Okay.
Like the button.
Okay.